Today, we're going to make some DIY fabric stars that you can use for multiple different purposes. Welcome, I do sewing and DIY related content, and today we are going to be needing a star template. So an easy way to do this is if you go to Google and search star template and then go to images, you can see there's a bunch of different stars that you can pick from. I just picked the one that I like the best, and then you're going to click that image, turn the brightness all the way up on your computer, and then put a piece of paper over it, and then you can actually trace this out and then cut it out as a template for yourself. You can do these in multiple different sizes, and then you can actually use this template to then cut out fabric. So once you have a bunch of different stars created and you're ready to go, we can then get our fabric and actually begin cutting out our fabric stars. So for this, I just laid my star pattern onto the fabric. I pinned it all up all the way around, and then you're just going to very carefully cut this out. And why I say it's very carefully is, as you can see, there are lots of little edges we need to cut, and you really want to use scissors for this because of all those little details. So now I'm just going to go through and cut out my fabric. This really depends on how many you want. So how many stars are you hoping to make? For each star, you are going to need a front and a back, so take that into consideration. For this pattern that I'm making today, I am going to be making 13 stars, so technically I will need 26 pieces of fabric stars that then I will be matching back to the front. Now for my stars, I'm doing them in red, white, and blue theme, so I needed to cut out a bunch of different color stars so that it could match my theme and really give me that red, white, and blue effect that I will then be able to use. Once I got all of my stars cut out, you can see I have a big pile here of all the different stars, so it is now time to start assembling them to get them into something that we can use so there's no raw edges. So specifically what you're going to be doing is you're taking two pieces of your fabric, so two of those fabric stars, and matching them with right sides together and then pinning it all the way around. So there's a lot of little points on here, so you definitely want to take your time, make sure you get pins all the way around. And then on one of these straight edges, you're going to add two pins to sort of denote where you're going to start and stop. So that's going to be our gap that we are not going to be sewing, so that we'll be able to turn these stars right side out. So we'll be starting at the first pin, sewing all the way around all of these points, then going up, and then at that second part where that pin is, we are then going to be stopping. So now I'm going to redo this for all of those other stars, so being sure I'm matching them with right sides together. As you can see here, it's a little easier as the firework pattern is on the inside versus the outside. And then I'm just going to go through for each of these, being sure that I'm marking where I'm starting and stopping for each star. Once I have this complete for all of my stars together, I'm then going to take them over to the sewing machine and begin sewing them up. So here I am at my sewing machine. You can see I have those two pins to denote where I'm going to be starting, and I am just going to be sewing all the way around using a straight stitch, being sure that I am back stitching at the beginning as well as at the very end. I need to back stitch as well. So now I'm just going to start sewing. When I get to the tip at that corner where I just have about probably 3/8 of an inch left, I'm just going to turn my fabric, so pivot it so that I can then begin on that next straight edge. Now as I go around, when I get to the next corner, I'm just going to put my needle into my fabric, pivot the fabric, and then continue going. As you can see, I have quite a few done, so now it is time to start turning these right side out. And to do that, there is a little bit of a process, as we do have a lot of fabric, we do have these little points we have to worry about. So to turn them right side out, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be trimming across those points, so getting as close to that seam as we can, and just trimming that extra fabric off. This is going to allow us not to be as bulky. And then in between where those 2 points come together, we're just going to be clipping that as well, and then very carefully turning this right side out. So as you turn right side out, I would highly recommend using some sort of turning tool, using a pencil, using a pen, just something to help you poke through. You can also use like a pin to help pull the fabric out as well. It just really takes a lot of time, and you very slowly are going to want to go through and turn all of these fabric stars out. Once you have it turned right side out, we're just going to press it so it is nice and flat and smooth, and this is going to allow us to do that final step of top stitching it so that we don't have any of those raw edges. So here you can see there is one of the gaps that I had, and I'm going to just lay it so that's nice and flat, put it on my sewing machine, and as you can see here, I'm just going to top stitch it to close that gap up. Now when I get to the edge, I'm going to then turn this as we're going to top stitch the entire thing, but what you may notice is it's actually hard to sew through because we have a lot of fabric at that point. So a couple ways you can do this. You can get a piece of cardboard. I'm going to use this seam roller, put it on the back of my presser foot, and then just continue sewing, and that's going to help me get over that little bump. And then I did this for each point. I found this the easiest way to get through it. It was able to go through all of the seams. There's just a lot of fabric at that point, so as you can see here, little close-up of it, it just helps you get over that little hump and you're able to continue on your way sewing. Once you have all of your stars sewn up though and everything is top stitched, you're just going to go through and clip any extra threads that are there, making sure everything's laying nice and flat, and then it will just be time to actually start joining them all together. Now joining them all together, as I said at the beginning, I'm doing 13, so I'm going to turn this into kind of a small little table runner and just have them all sort of scattered around, and then I'm just going to pin them in place for wherever I want them to be touching and where it's going to have that joining effect. Once you have it all laid out exactly as you would like to, you can then just go through with a needle and thread and do a little stitch to join them together. I did some invisible stitches. I also made it so that on the back, occasionally for the back of this, you would be able to see if there's a seam. It was just a lot easier for me to do it this way. But when you are hand stitching, be sure that you are knotting it at both the beginning and end so that the stars do stay together. Now this process did take a little bit of time just because I went with so many stars and I have them joined in so many different places. So I definitely think there may have been ways that you could have tried to machine sew this to get them to stay together. Maybe you could have used some sort of fabric glue as well to have them stay together. It's really up to you for how much detail and time you want to put into this. There are other ways you could use this fabric star as well, which I'll show at the end how you could have turned this into a wall hanging, a door hanger, so many different options for how these stars could be used. I just found that this table runner looked really fun, especially when you start to have those gaps show through. So here is my completed table runner. I absolutely love how it looks. It's so fun for the 4th of July. As I mentioned, you could also have just taken a few of these if you just want to do 3, and you could have made some sort of wall hanging or maybe a door hanger to use at your door as well for the 4th of July and Flag Day. If you enjoyed this DIY, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you want to see next. Thanks for watching.